With Halo 3 coming to PC, I figured this would be as good a time as any to share 10 Halo 3 beginner tips and tricks. So let's jump right into the tips. The first tip is going to be weapon and power-up spawns. One of the most important aspects of Halo is control of not only the weapons but also the power-ups. This is due to the fact that a game like Halo 3 is built around equal starts where every player in the game spawns with the exact same loadout, and then you must take control of the map to get the different power weapons. So the first thing you're going to want to do if you're a new player to Halo 3 or a returning player to Halo 3 if you want to up your game pretty easily is just try and memorize at the very least where the weapon and power-ups all spawn. This is really easy as you can just fly around Forge and see exactly where all the weapons spawn. Once you've learned where all the weapons and power-ups spawn, the next step is learning exactly how to time them and know when they're going to come up, as knowing when they're going to come up means you can be there right when they spawn, which can be a huge advantage in getting these weapons and power-ups over your opponents. Rather than go super in-depth on the timing of Halo 3 weapons and power-ups, as it can get a little bit tricky on the weapon side, I'm just going to revert you to MCC stats as they break it down to every single map. There you can see exactly the timers on all the weapons that do spawn on a map, and there's even a section that teaches you how to time weapons in not only vanilla Halo 3 settings but also the hardcore settings, because it does differ a little bit. At a very beginner level though, the most important thing is to just know the spawns and also know rough timings. When you're just starting out, I don't think it's super important to get super in-depth into dirtying weapons, which is something that MCC stats can tell you about. The next tip is going to be tip 2, and that's to lead your shots. Unlike some of the other Halo games which have way higher projectile speeds, Halo 3's projectile speed is very low, meaning that when players are a far distance away, you're going to have to lead your shots to hit them. This is something that you'll probably pick up over time just playing, but you can jump into a custom with one of your friends to learn exactly how much you have to lead your shots at different ranges. You'd be surprised at how close someone can be when you still have to lead your shots in Halo 3. Once you get a hang of how to lead your shots, you'll be able to much more consistently four-shot your enemies, even if they happen to be strafing against you. And that takes us into our next tip. Tip number 3, strafing. Strafing is hugely important when you're in a gunfight, as this will allow you to hopefully make your opponent miss some shots. At its very base level, strafing is just going left and right in an attempt to throw off your opponent's aim. One of the most important things though when it comes to strafing is to try and be unpredictable. You don't just want to consistently go left, right, maybe you want to go left a little bit longer and then hit a close right or something like that. You can even throw in crouches into your strafes, and that can really throw off your opponent's aim. While strafing alone isn't going to win you any gunfights, it can be the tipping point in a really close gunfight against an enemy. Obviously, strafing isn't applicable in every gunfight, as you're not always going to be in a straight up one-on-one with someone, as you might be just taking shots on opponents, and in that case you don't always need to be strafing, but if you're in a gunfight with someone looking at you, more often than not it doesn't hurt to strafe. Next up at tip number 4 is crouch jumping. Obviously jumping is a very huge mechanic in Halo, as it allows you to traverse the map. However, there are many specific spots on Halo maps that are designed around the crouch jump instead of just your normal jump. And what I mean by this is when you jump, you're going to hold your crouch button, and this is going to lift up your character's legs, allowing you to get up to slightly higher ledges. This is another thing that you'll kind of just learn over time, but one of the easiest ones that I always give as an example is going from S1 to S2 on Guardian. Without the crouch jump, you actually have to jump on the ledge and then jump up, but with the crouch jump, you can just jump right up. The next tip number 5, is the grenade jump. Similar to the crouch jump, this is going to let you get to higher heights. Unlike the crouch jump though, this one does have a downside in being that you have to grenade yourself to do it, so this one is not as widely applicable as the crouch jump. Grenade jumps are very simple. Basically just throw a grenade at the floor, and right when it's about to blow up, you'll jump and it'll blast you up into the air, helping you get a little bit higher. Along with the grenade jump, you can also do this with a brute shot, which surprisingly actually does less damage to you than the grenade, so if you have a brute shot, this can be pretty helpful. Next up at tip number 6 is team shooting and positioning. In Halo, positioning and team shooting are key, as with the higher time to kill, you don't necessarily want to be venturing out on your own trying to make plays. It's really important to be in a spot on the map where your teammates can always help you out. That way, if you get into a gunfight, they can also put shots into your enemy, therefore making it so you don't have to put in a bunch of shots to kill them. You can put in a handful, your teammate puts in a handful, and boom, the enemy's dead. While aim is obviously a key aspect in any FPS game, the mechanics of Halo allow team shooting and positioning to really allow you to make up for a lack of aim with just proper team play and positioning. It doesn't matter how good your aim is in Halo, if you're taking people on in gunfights with the battle rifle, 2 people are going to beat 1 person 99% of the time, unless the one player makes a play with equipment or a grenade, but obviously in most cases, the two players putting shots on the one person are going to win that battle. That is why the positioning in Halo along with the team shooting is extremely important. Next tip at tip number 7 is the Gandhi hop, and this is another tip that is super important during gunfights. The mechanics of this one are pretty simple. When you jump in the air, all you do is spam your crouch button, and this is going to bobble your Spartan's head in the air, kind of making your head hitbox kind of wonky. This is huge as when you have no shields, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for your opponents to get that final headshot on you to kill you. One thing that's really important to note on this is you are going to want to make sure that you don't have toggle crouch on, as that will make this mechanic not possible to really do. Once you get the hang of doing it, which is super simple, you can then use this during gunfights to turn the tide in your favor. An important thing to note though is you don't necessarily just want to be hopping at the start of every gunfight, as that makes your movement more predictable and you're just kind of floating in the air. A good rule of thumb is to use that jump and the Gandhi hop toward the end of a gunfight, in between that third and fourth shot, to really throw off your opponent's aim during that last shot. Using it earlier in the gunfight won't really do a whole ton, as no matter where they hit you, it's going to do the same amount of damage. If you watch any high level player, you'll really see them use this mechanic when in close gunfights. Next up at tip number 8 is the strong side, and this is another tip that's going to allow you to kind of mess with the hitboxes to hopefully not let your opponent finish you off when you have no shields. This one, unlike the Gandhi hop, is mostly used when you're disengaging from a fight, and what you're going to do is when you're running away from your enemy, you're just going to stare straight at the ground. This will make your Spartan look at the ground, obviously, making it harder to get that last headshot on you when you're being shot from behind. And due to the mechanics of how the battle rifle works, that's huge because them having to body shot you instead of being able to finish you off with a headshot is going to allow you to live a little bit longer, possibly being able to get around a corner or backing off far enough to get help from your teammates. One thing to note when you're strong sighting though is you do have to be aware of your surroundings, as you don't want to just run into walls or edges because then you're just a sitting duck. The 9th tip is going to be grenade usage in Halo. Grenade usage in Halo is huge if you want to maximize your potential. We already earlier talked about the grenade jump, but that's really not even one of the most important things about grenades. The easiest and most important mechanic with the grenade is to use it to nade shot people. If you're curious as to why I'm talking about the owner of 100 Thieves, I'm not. The mechanic behind the nade shot is pretty simple. Basically, throwing a grenade at your enemy is going to take down their shields, allowing you to finish them off with one BR shot. This is huge as not only does it allow you to prime enemies coming around a corner and get an easy kill, it also allows you to turn bad positions into good ones. If you know 2 or 3 enemies are about to wrap the corner and push you, one well-placed grenade can turn that from a sure death into a double or triple kill. Grenades are also huge just as denial tools. There are certain maps where off the spawn, throwing a grenade at a specific spot is going to slow down your opponent's opening play, whether that's grabbing a power-up or a power weapon. But this isn't only useful at the start of a game. You can also use it in the middle of any match to try and deny your opponent from pushing a certain area, because if they see a grenade coming, they're obviously not going to want to run over it as it's going to take down their shields. You can use this to your advantage then to push enemies into where you want them to be instead of allowing them to go wherever they want. And the last tip, tip number 10, is body shotting with the battle rifle. Now this is a tip that's pretty straightforward, and that is that the battle rifle can kill in 4 shots even if all 4 of the shots aren't headshots. So basically what I mean is that if you want to kill someone from full shields to death, what you can do is you can shoot them 3 times into the body and then once into the head. This will kill them in 4 shots, just like shooting them 4 times into the head would do. This can be really helpful if you're taking one-on-ones, as obviously hitting those body shots is going to be a lot more consistent than hitting 4 headshots in a row. Anyways, that's going to do it for the tips in this video. I hope some of these helped you out. They are pretty basic, but I figured with Halo 3 coming to PC, there's going to be many players that either never played Halo 3 before or haven't played Halo 3 in many years. If you have any other tips that you want to share, let me know in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. If you want to catch me Wreck Noobs live, you can follow me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Arrrash with 3 R's, and if that isn't enough me for you, you can also follow me on Twitter at Arrrash with 4 R's. With that said, I'll see you all next time.